Hello, welcome to the Mermaid Tavern. How are you? Cheers. Slanjava. Skål. Bottoms up. Mm. Now, I'm not going to do any singing this week because my singing was quite frankly shocking in that last video. If you were with me when I was talking about that great little known George Harrison song, I'll Still Love You, the preceding visit to the Mermaid Tavern, did a bit of singing. I even tried to edit it out. It didn't really work. You probably noticed how much editing I do. It's like, and that's usually because I've gone over time, and I don't flatter myself. You'd want to spend more than about 20 minutes with me, but I'm very flattered if you do, and I'm very flattered anyway that if you're here. Cold Turkey, specifically 1969, Lyceum Ballroom, 15th of December. The UNICEF for Christmas concert that was held, which turned out to be John's last ever. You'll know this if you're a Beatles fan. The last ever time that John played on these shores, Britain, United Kingdom. Yeah, the last time it was just before Christmas, 1969, with the Plastic Ono band, the Plastic Ono supergroup. It was a great lineup. But yeah, this version was taped, and of course it turned up. It turned up on Sometime in New York City, didn't it? On this much maligned live disc. I've heard a lot of people that I respect here on YouTube doing videos of this. Talking about this album. Pretty much all of them haven't got a good word to say about this live album. And yeah, the live jam bit, the bit with Frank Zappa and the Mother's Invention, it's okay. It's nothing particularly special. And of course, at the Lyceum gig, John did this amazing version of Cold Turkey, which was my favourite version. In fact, I bought this album in 1970. Might have been 79 actually. Yeah, I think it was. But I kind of I had the single of Cold Turkey. I bought it just afterwards. So I probably heard this live version before I heard the single version. And of course, it's on Live Piece in Toronto, isn't it, as well? So I think I heard that afterwards as well. So I've got a feeling, I might be wrong with my memory here, but I've got a feeling this version from the Lyceum in '69 was the very first version of Cold Turkey I heard. It's still my favourite. As I say, a lot of people haven't got a good word to say about this live disc. And of course, there is this long version of Yoko's "Don't Worry, Kyoko." That song, it goes on. I think it's the edit here is about 15 minutes, but I heard it went on for about 40 minutes. It was just like all the band were trying to speed it up. There was some great musicians on this. There was people like Alan White, Eric Clapton, George. Yeah, George Harrison was there on it. George and John. Half of the Beatles were here at this gig. The Lyceum Ballroom. It's the Lyceum Theatre. It's on the just off the Strand in London. It's where Lion King's been playing since 1999. But it was a ballroom just after World War II. It had been a theatre. I think it went back to the 1830s, and there was a theatre on that site even before that. But they made it into a ballroom just after World War II, and at that time when the UNICEF gig was on, it was flourishing really as a place for bands. Yeah, you had lots of bands like the Grateful Dead and like the Who, possibly even Pink Floyd, and it went on as I say into the 80s. I'm sure the Smiths played there. I think T-Rex did back in the day too. From what I remember reading in the past about it. But yeah, this had a good lineup. So Eric Clapton, Eric and George Harrison both playing guitars. Alan White, drums, of course. Klaus Vormann, bass. I think the Delaney and Bonnie guys, the Delaney and Bonnie band, who George was playing with and uh, working with. Bobby Whitlock, I think, who played on the played with George a bit. He was there. I think near the end, Keith Moon as well, because he's in the pictures. Uh, what that would have been amazing. But it's this 7 minute long version of Cold Turkey which really fascinates me. It really rocks. It rocks miles better than this singles version. Which this single version is it's good, but it just really, because you've got the involvement of all this band, multiple guitarists, multiple drummers, multiple bass players, multiple keyboardists. It's really heavy and really amplifies the song. You know, uh, not going to go too heavily into the history of the song. Of course, uh, I think John has said or uh, about the fact that he was, he was coming off heroin. I think maybe like a month or two before, was it September '69 when they did the rock and roll revival gig in Toronto, Canada, which came out as that album Live Peace in Toronto. Just John, well, of course, Eric Clapton was there, and Alan White again, and Klaus. So they were used to playing with each other. These guys were used to playing together. uh, yeah, John admitted, I think he was still using when they were doing the Toronto gig in, I think, September '69, when I think that was the first time it was publicly. Yeah, because that would have been a month. But I think the single came out in October. So when they did the Toronto show in September, which is of course is out there, isn't it? There's a film of it that you can see it, as well as being on the Live Peace in Toronto album. Core 2001. That's CORE 2001. I remember that catalogue number, UK catalogue number for that album somehow. Yeah, I think John said in an interview he was still using at that time. I think some people say he was using on the White Album. I don't know. Or I'm not really going to get into all that. But this version of Cold Turkey is the rockiest, grooviest, heaviest version of the song. Of course, he did it later on, didn't he? In '72, the 1-to-1 in New York. Again, I've heard both these versions and the single, but this 1969, December the 15th, the Lyceum show, this just under 7 minute version rocks. I love it, but it said play loud on this. That is so cool. It beats the single version. It does for me. I think it's because it's so dense with all those layers of all those musicians playing. I remember just absolutely loving this and putting it on as long as I could, putting it on as loud as I could get away with. 14-year-old in his bedroom. I've got happy memories of this album, I have to say. It's it's much more, and particularly this, yeah, Don't Worry Kyoko. I'm sure, did I hear John saying it was it sort of something about it sort of predating punk or something? I'm not sure about that, John. I like Yoko. I've got no axe to grind with Yoko, so I like her. There's some of her Apple albums that she did, which I actually find it quite interesting to listen to. I really do, all the time. That song, Mrs. Lennon, that was a really haunting song that she did, wasn't it? Very sort of, I like that a lot on the piano. Really beautiful. Yeah. But Yeah, this show was last time uh, John and John would play in this country, and with George too. And he'd never be on stage again with George, would he? Again, I don't think. Yeah, I was looking for looking at a poster for this show. I think it was the whole event was called UNICEF Peace for Christmas. Uh, and there was some interesting people. Jimmy Cliff was on there. Yeah, the Hot Chocolate Band, who of course were had a version of John's "Give Peace a Chance," didn't they, on Apple Records? The Hot Chocolate Band they were called later, of course. Hot Chocolate, weren't they? Black Velvet, Blue Mink, Tony Blackburn was on there, so DJ and Emperor Roscoe, and Richard Harris. Richard Harris. Bless Mr. Harris. Bless him. He bought me a drink once. Well, he bought me several drinks. Bless him. Always loved Richard Harris. And his album, I've got it somewhere, A Tramp Shining, had come out in 1968, and he'd had that hit with MacArthur Park. So it says he was there. I wonder if he sang it. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? I wonder if him and John met. I wonder, be interesting. When you get sort of two people you really like and think, oh, did they meet? What did they get on? I wonder, Of course, connection there is, Mark, you like that because I know my mate Mark, you likes the connections. Richard Harris's son, Jared Harris, who's a great actor, played John Lennon. Did you ever see that drama with Aidan Quinn playing Paul McCartney, and Jared Harris was John? And it's that time when, based on fact, but a lot of fiction in it, a lot of imagination, where Paul turned up at the Dakota, and they hung out for a bit, and and even were going to go down to take up the offer of the Beatles reforming. But Jared Harris does a brilliant John in that. If you haven't seen it, it's called The Two of Us. Might be on here. Check it out. So yeah. Anyway, that's the connection with Richard Harris. I wonder if they wonder if they met that day. But yeah, it says I think it says many other special guests at this gig. So I wonder. But yeah, I think the layers of the song, it's just brilliant. On the run. In conclusion, it's the best. If you haven't checked it, if you've heard any propaganda about this, yeah, a lot of it's true regardless live disc. But that's that just under 7 minute version of Cold Turkey really rocks. Of course, you really wish that John had done some more stuff that day, wouldn't you? You really wish that he'd done a lot more cooler stuff, rather than just hand over to Yoko there. But I think it was, they were there. They were there to, make a statement for peace, and that was great. That was laudable, But I think a lot of people in that audience probably would have been disappointed. Well, it would have been great to be there. I've never. Can I ask you a favour? If you have enjoyed watching me, will you please give me a like? Because it really makes me feel, wanted. you know. Also, subscribe, please. It really helps my. It really helps people come to the tavern. Tough time for taverns at the moment. Tough times, tough times. And but yeah, please like. It makes me feel as I'm not just talking to myself. Even though I am. It's therapy. But yeah, great song. Will I see you again? I sincerely hope so.